welcome to the Meditation Podcast. You can find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. We're on Facebook as meditationpodcast.org. I'm also on YouTube, and it's Roy Cortland, and I'll have the link in the podcast description. I also have 4 other podcasts, and you'll find them all on roycortland.com. I won't tell you what they are. You'll have to check them out. My guest today, who's Canadian but living in Texas, I believe. Please welcome Amirah Hall. Did I say it correct?
You did. Yeah, I always like to remind anybody that stumbles with my name, it rhymes with a miracle.
Isn't that beautiful that your name sounds like a miracle?
Well, you know, there's a childhood story, a mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all, right? And if you're looking into the mirror, you're seeing a reflection of yourself. Right? So nobody's better than anybody else, but we're all a reflection of each other. And I find that as a reminder every single day, you know, as I go in the world, you know, it does help me to remember.
And I know you've got an impressive resume of what you're doing. So you might let the listeners know.
Oh, yeah.
Amirah?
Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's a real pleasure. I am known as a lot of different things, and my friends tell me that I'm a world-class psychic medium. I am a quantum healing pioneer. I've been doing this work for over 22 years now. I've been on my own spiritual journey over 40 years. And I have been an international life coach. I guide people to connecting with their inner self, to understanding what and who they are. I believe that once we step into alignment with all of who we are, all of our spiritual gifts, all of our knowingness, and our perfect purpose unfolds for us. I healed myself from an autoimmune disease back in the 1990s, and that took me down a path of understanding my responsibility in healing myself. I wasn't real happy with that at first, but that's my journey. And really, it was the turning point in me taking a whole new level of seniority, of self-respect and self-love. Then I had a near-death experience about 20 years ago that launched me into a whole new direction. At the time, I was working in corporate sales and doing very, very well. But since that time, I've been on a journey of dedicating my life to helping people raise their vibration, understand more of who they are and how they can create whatever it is that they like in their life. I'm an author. I've released a book called Manifesting Miracles 101, another book called Love Up Your Life, and soon to be released, my latest book will be The Essential Guide to Spiritual Awakening. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also preparing and planning for an upcoming tour, Sacred Spiritual Journey to Egypt, where we'll be guiding spiritual seekers into the deeper levels of Egypt. If you know what I mean.
Very good. And like the near-death experience, is that something that you're comfortable talking about? Can you tell us about what happened?
Yeah, you know, it's quite a story, and there's a lot to it, a lot of missing pieces, but I do talk about that in my book, Essential Guide to Spiritual Awakening. But, you know, the biggest thing about that, and here's the thing, when everybody talks about spiritual or near-death experiences, they want to know the nitty-gritty, all the dirty, down and dirty parts, like how did it happen, right? And honestly, I'm not here to indulge that so much as I like to talk about the journey of figuring out who I was after it, because it was dark. I mean, the initial instance, so let me tell you what happened. I was in Egypt. I was a jewelry designer at the time, pardon me. And I was looking for some antiquities that I could take home and incorporate into my jewelry, beads. And I found somebody in the small town Corna outside the Valley of the Kings. And the residents there dig in the back wall of their house, their residence, which is perched on the, like they're connected to the mountain. they dig and they look for tombs and they're looking for tunnels and all kinds of artifacts and stuff, right? But they have a great big carpet covering this back door. Anyway, I figured somebody back there would have some of these things. So a good friend of mine connected me with these people, and I didn't have the money to pay for that. On my last day, I went back to collect the beads and pay for it. Well, in Egypt, what happens is, I'm getting choked up here. I'm not sure if my guides are really wanting me to share all this, but it's it's an exchange. You have a cup of coffee, you have a glass of water, you have a Coke. You know, it's not just here's your money when you pay for something or you bought something. There's the community, a sense of giving and receiving and connecting. Well, anyway, they brought out the pot, and I don't smoke. And so I've tried it, didn't really do much for me. Give me a light beer and I'm happier with that. But I was not a smoker and I wasn't interested in it. And everybody started shouting at me, right? And especially Mohammed, the owner, he was really insulted. So I thought, well, I better take a step back here. I'm the only female here. I better mind my P's and Q's. It scared me because they were shouting and shouting and shouting, and it was so loud. So I thought, well, I've smoked before. It's never done anything for me, so this can't hurt. And I did the joint. It was one joint. It was passed around a group. All of a sudden, guys showed up from everywhere. There was maybe 10 guys in the room. And so this one joint went around twice. You know, it's not much, right? And so I don't know if you smoked, but I'm not the expert, okay, on this stuff. Anyway, what happened was I started to find myself, everybody got up and they were ready to go, and I was pinned to the chair. And I couldn't move my arms and I couldn't move my legs. And I started finding myself standing behind myself. I started to have an out-of-body experience. I could see everybody in the room's life like it was on a video screen or a movie screen. And I was petrified. And I was like, oh my God, I'm leaving my body. I got to get back in my body. And so I must have said something like, I need water, and put my hands out in front of me. But I don't know, I don't recall saying words. But my friend moved towards me in slow motion and they were all laughing. So everything became very distorted for me. And at the same time, everything was extremely sharp. It's hard to quite explain that. It was such an intense overload of information coming at me. So then I had my hands here and went to bring my hands to my face, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, my mascara is gonna run. I mean, that was my last thought before I left my body. And I thought, oh my God, typical, you know, I've got French Canadian blood running through me. So I blamed it on my French vanity. And anyway, I passed out. I don't remember what happened there. My friend said my body stiffened. I stopped breathing and my heart stopped. They were pounding me. This is like what I teasingly call it, Egyptian CPR. They were pounding my chest with all their might. Then they grabbed me under the arms and dragged me out and shoved me in a truck. They were taking me somewhere. Well, I don't remember any of this. I was gone until I started coming back. And this was profound because I felt like I was a comet or a falling star. I was shooting through the cosmos and I'm like, where am I going? Where am I going? And then I saw Earth. It was way off in the distance. It was a little round ball. And I got closer and closer and closer. And then it kept getting bigger. And I'm like, oh, that's huge. How am I going to find myself? I mean, these thoughts were literally going through my head like it was yesterday. And I got closer and closer to the body, didn't know where I was. Then I heard this strange language and it was Arabic. And I'm like, I don't know that language. That's foreign to me. And then I went, oh, I'm in Egypt. And it was almost like a GPS locator that was like pinpointing or pinging to my body. And then when I got the body, it felt like I was putting on wet clothes. Have you ever tried putting on wet clothes?
Yeah.
Gone swimming or something and had to put those same clothes on, or skinny dipping or something like that, something exciting. And it was horrible. It was sticky, it was gunky, it was thick, it was, oh my gosh. And I felt like I struggled at that state for quite some time. And then when the light was intensely bright, I couldn't open my eyes, but I felt this warmth and this peace and this stillness that was just so vast. You know, it wasn't contained in me. So I guess you could argue that when I look back at this, I wasn't all there yet. And I could hear them shouting in Arabic. And I touched my friend's arm. They had perched me up on the passenger seat of the truck. They had my head out the window, barreling down the road, trying to give me oxygen, right? Give me some air. And so, you know, I wasn't cognizant of any of that. That's what, you know, they reminded me of. So I touched my friend's arm and I said, you know, where are you taking me? I felt my bowels ready to erupt, and I didn't know anything else other than my body's talking to me. Okay, I need a toilet. And so they said, well, we're taking you to the hospital, of course. And I thought was, oh shit, that's going to kill me. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and a primitive hospital setting that will definitely end my life, right? Because I was only just thinking of bacteria and primitiveness. And so the funny thing was they listened to me, and they brought me to the brother-in-law's home, where he had an American style toilet, which would have been, this is really kind of a shitty story, but you know, there's so much overlay here because the culture is such that a man should not be alone with a woman in private spaces like a bathroom. All right, I'm wearing a long dress. I didn't want my friend to leave me. I'm thinking, I don't want you to leave. I'm feeling very shaky, and I don't know what the heck happened, but I don't want you to leave. So he perches himself on the bathtub, which was higher than me, sitting on a toilet. And there's somebody on the back of the door. It's his sister-in-law. She's pounding on the door, screaming. For some reason in her consciousness, she's thinking we're in there having sex or something. I mean, that's their first go-to thought. They think if a man's with a woman, period, that's why they're together. So meanwhile, I'm just thinking I'm the most polite thing on the planet. I've put my dress down over the toilet in my legs, so he can't see anything, right? And so I'm thinking, you know, perfectly classy, you know, way to be in the bathroom with a stranger. Or not a stranger, but he was a very good friend. Anyway, he's sitting on the edge of the tub, just streaming tears, and just said, you don't understand. You just don't understand. Because I'm happy, I'm peaceful. I just needed a toilet. And he was just falling apart. Said, you died. You know, so that's really that was my clinical diagnosis. Okay. Other than that, you know, coming forward, I did go see a doctor and all of that, check everything, and there was nothing. I had been detoxing before I went to Egypt, so I was really, really clear. So that being, I may have been dehydrated is the only, and I found out from my doctor, many people die of dehydration. So fast forward, it took me quite a while to be able to walk. I couldn't, I was laying, they put me in the bed, they brought me orange juice or a fresh orange and water, and I just laid there. I was like catatonic. And at the same time, very, very, very super aware. And when I would look at the wooden armoire in front of me, all I could see was this goddess Sekhmet. And goddess Sekhmet, she has a lion's face and a female's body. She was known as the healer of healers in Egypt. And she is extremely powerful deity. Now, I didn't really buy into or comprehend or understand or integrate any of this Egyptology at the time. This was my very first trip, and I've been back now 12 times. But the point is, it didn't really resonate until I'm seeing her for real. Like, she is a living, breathing, alive being. And I kept looking out the window. There was this fluttering drapery coming through the window. The window was open, and all I could see was the lush green Nile out there. And I'm going, that's real. I'm going to keep looking there because that's real. And then when I'd look back, oh my gosh, there she was again. So it was a real overload to my senses. And honestly, it continued and continued and continued in ways that we'd be here a very long time if I started telling you all those moments. But the next profound time was I slept. So that day I flew from, so you can argue she was hallucinating with some really good shit, right? But I don't know marijuana, but from other people that I've spoken to about this, it's not a hallucinogenic. So I traveled from Luxor that day to Cairo, a couple hours flight, stood in line, boarded a flight, 8 hours to New York. So it was a good 20 hours between that point and when I got off the plane in New York in the jetway, stepping into the airport, everybody looked like black and white paper dolls, walking flat. It was a horrible, horrible nightmare for me, because all I could think of, I don't want to be here. And I thought it was the United States. I couldn't put together that I was in another realm, and I was stuck in this dimension of fear and anger and greed and darkness. And quite honestly, now as I understand even more, I do believe that's what we're awakening from. Because there's a mass consciousness that's stuck in that, and they don't know they are. It wasn't long before I started to merge into it and forgot where I came from in the light and everything that was being downloaded to me. So it was a process of really reintegrating myself in 3D reality, merging into this land, I've called them paper dolls, and then coming out of it and understanding I am a spiritual being having this human experience that's dark and heavy and thick, and it's grief. It's just ugly. And how do we get to that other aspect of who we are when we're stuck in it, right? You can't see the forest for the trees kind of expression. So how do we get out of that? And then I've spent 22 years helping people, guiding people how to get out of it. By the way, it took me approximately a year of dedicating myself to using specific quantum tools that I use myself and I teach other people to incorporate that as a form of meditation, but it's clearing the energy. So you're not sitting there in a mindful, beautiful state of just watching your emotions. You're flushing them away. You're dissolving them. There's an active component to the meditative state of doing something without doing something. So what we're doing is on a quantum level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Because I'm channeling all
Yeah,
those.
no. And like, say, emotional blocks, when people got an emotional block or something,
Right.
like you'd be able to go through that and, frame, because most people don't know what it is that's actually causing
Right.
it.
Yeah. So I run into people all the time that say, well, I can't meditate. I've tried that. It doesn't work, And, there's 1,000 different types of meditation, and they all work in various aspects. I'm not saying they don't. But for me, I wanted something quick and easy, down and dirty. Get me the goods, right? Get me back to that state that I already touched. And how can I have many, many moments of this and join the dots so that I could have this experience of being a creator? And that's what we're here to do. I truly believe, as created in the likeness and the image of our creator, we're here to create. We're here to have what you want, what makes your heart sing. It doesn't matter if it's, video editing, or if you're writing, or you're a contractor, or selling houses, right? It's about really being in the state of mind where things flow. A state of mind, but an energetic frequency that's going to allow things to come to you. So it's like a dance with the universe, isn't it?
Like you mentioned, you've been back 12 times. Do you get a certain energy feeling when you're in Egypt? Because I know that some parts of the world that you can be in, one can take the energy from you. Like I remember when I was in Costa Rica, I just got an amazing feeling there. Do you get that when you're in Egypt?
Absolutely. And I've heard this over and over and over again from all of the group people that traveled with me, is I feel home. I feel home. There is a soul recognition with almost everybody that comes. I mean, you walk through 2 weeks of your journey in total awe. You know, not only with, let's say, the magnificence of the pyramids and the questions of the engineering and the aspect to all of these things that they manifested, created, but being in the vibration, when you start talking to granite statues and their little whiskers, smile at you, or their hand goes up off their you start wondering and questioning reality, right? That was happening to me. And I was like, did you hear that? No, we didn't hear it. And well, I was hearing it when I could hear this celestial singing in one of the temples. I believe it was Dendera. And so I'm like looking around, the walls are what, 3 feet thick or something in some of these places. And I'm looking around for the wires along the bottom of the floor or somewhere where they've got a speaker, because it was so loud and so strong. I went out and I asked the guardian of the temple, excuse me, where are the speakers? And I'm hearing this sound. And he goes, madam. And they don't want to talk about it. He told me to shush, basically. And then he walked away from me. It's like, we don't talk about that, because it's like whatever spirits or angels or guides in that particular culture, it might conjure up somebody. So they have a high level of, they do know, but they don't discuss it openly.
Interesting. And is it after that then that you started doing like readings, spirit medium?
Well, when I got back to the States, as I said, I was working in corporate sales, and honestly, I couldn't function. It wasn't long before I got fired. And even though I tried to make adjustments to work at home, I was in 1998, I was working at home. So I thought maybe if I could go swimming in the day and meditate and keep my lifestyle more, in balance with me, what I need, because even large crowds or going to a grocery store was absolutely overwhelming for me. So I am totally understanding and respectful and compassionate to empaths. We're all empathic. We're all absorbing energy wherever we go. And we've been absorbing energy since we've been in our mother's womb. When I like to tell the story, like, imagine you're an Android and your mother's an iPhone. Okay, those apps don't work. Yet you're in your mother's womb, and what you're doing is you're attracting or absorbing all of her thoughts, her feelings, all of her vibration. So we go through life carrying that energy. And not to, diss on mom here, but dad too. And then our siblings and our coworkers and everywhere we go in life. Nobody's taught us the most basic thing is what you are, your energy. And it's so incredibly liberating when we know that, and we can go, oh, great. Like, I'm of the mindset, all right, I know that. So what do I do? Give me the 1, 2, 3, the ABCs. And then we've got a plan, right?
Yeah.
And then it just takes a little time, and everybody is uniquely different. Some of us have ancestral patterns that are longer and deeper. Some of us like to hang on to our crap. Some people, there's varying ranges of how long and what has to happen. But that's where I noticed from that experience and clearing myself is when my own spiritual abilities just went right. And I have abilities that I don't realize I'm doing, like reading minds. I'm not reading the mind, but I'm just knowing what they think. Or I'm connecting to, deceased loved ones. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and his name was Chris, and I kept calling him Jim. I go, "Who's Jim?" And he goes, "Well, that's my friend who died. That's his computer that I'm using right now." I'm like, "Oh my God, Jim's coming through." So all these gifts and abilities are incredibly wonderful. One, if we're not afraid of them or blocking them. And I think they're really here as a natural part of our spiritual expression to fulfill. They're who we are. We're not supposed to, turn them off. And if we don't know about them, we are turning them off.
I think a lot of children have special gifts, and they're just, whether it's the adults that don't believe in it, try to squash it.
Well, bring up a good point, because I'm noticing all these young people, they've got their own set of challenges because they're born into very alert and awake. They've brought their remembrance, their soul memory with them, but they're still having to learn how to cope and manage in this very low vibrational 3D, world that we've created that is falling apart. But yeah, it's amazing. And as we learn from them, we are that. We just shut it down, or we're camouflaged. I like to say we're camouflaged, we're just covered up. Once we start clearing that stuff, that's all we have to do. It'll be there. And you were mentioning your son. Was it your son that's really awake?
Yeah, he just turned 8. Yeah.
It's beautiful to watch. And I often say to parents when kids are talking about, "Oh, I remember when I was your mommy," for instance, or your daddy. "Oh, really? Tell me about that," rather than saying, "Oh, that's not true." Or like when the kid says, "Oh, there's a beautiful angel up there in the ceiling, mommy." "Oh, we're not alone," to acknowledge it. Ask them to tell you about it.
Exactly.
And or when the grandparents show up in spirit, or the child just knows how to play music at 4 years old and never been trained. It's amazing. I think, okay, I'm stepping out here, but I don't know so much. Yes, they're prodigies, but we all have these abilities.
Yeah.
And there are teachers to let go and open up to what we truly are. The beauty, the magic,
I think we scare ourselves sometimes with our abilities, and we quash it down. We suppress it, trying to forget that it's possible, and sometimes they'll surface yourself.
You see, this is the left brain analytical kind of programming that we've all been conditioned to, right? Like when I saw the granite statue smile at me, it's like, no, that didn't happen. This can't be happening. I'm told that granite is solid. Well, what if it's alive? I mean, what if?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is everything is a vibration. And I'll tell you a story that I don't think I've ever told anybody. Just one guy. My grandmother was very religious. I wasn't religious. And there was a moving statue in Cork, in Ballinasspittle. I went down there because she needed somebody to go with. There used to be being in busloads down there. I told her I could see it moving, and she thought I was taking the piss. And I spoke to a guy that's living in Poland, another Irish guy, and he had the exact same situation. He saw it moving as well, and it was like the people around, like they all thought it. Which, I mean, reality, everything is a vibration. Even gold, the whole lot, everything is vibrating. So who's to say that it is possible?
Well, it's our thinking and how we're seeing, our perception that something's solid or stationary, right? And the more you discover, the more you allow for more possibilities. My grandmother used to say, on the Ukrainian side, the Polish side, she used to say, "Live and learn and die stupid." I just feel like every day I'm closer to that, because the more we know, the less we really know in terms of the quantum fields and interdimensional travel and on and on and on. Just, topping the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I constantly feel I try to read as many books as I can and do as many courses and everything. And the more I do, the more I know. I don't know anything.
Well, you bring up something that's important. Several years ago, my guides told me to stop reading. And instead, what I started reading was energy and everybody's aura. And that's how I started to learn what was really going on. Because remember, and yeah, I'm an author, but I really struggled even just writing those books because I'm not here to program you. How do you think? Instead, Manifesting Miracles 101 is actually a guidebook. It's not intended to be an intellectual study or to glean more information. Because if we believe that we are all or one with all, then all we have to do is tap into it to access whatever we need to know. When I moved to Dubai back in 2010, I sold everything I owned. And my books and my plants were the very last things I let go of because there's a huge attachment. And so that was part of my journey of really separating from that, even though I didn't read them. And they, you know, The Seed of the Soul and Deepak Chopra and so many of the books that have helped me have a gleaming of it. It was still an energetic component that was keeping me attached to somebody else's set of beliefs.
Interesting, because they're like I can kind of get rid of anything, but my books are the one thing. But what I find is that it's books that are 80 years, 100 years, or whatever, are the ones I go, okay, this, because there's so much corruption going on that there's a load of stuff that just because you read it doesn't mean it's true. And I'm really conscious of that. And I'm just curious, trying to get into the mind. Sometimes I'd read, like the World Economic Forum, Schwab and stuff, just to get into their head, because I know what they're doing and just try to understand where they're coming from. But I always find that the books.
Well, that's a scary place, getting into their head. That's that dark land of the paper dolls that I talked about, right? And they're void of soul. But, it reminds me, when I was in the Great Pyramid, we do sacred ceremony there. This year in October, November, we're going to be there for sacred ceremony in the King's Chamber on the eclipse. So it's going to be a very profound time. But I remember having this experience where I was in the Great Sarcophagus and everybody was chanting Om around me. And I had like these masters descended a staircase. It was like a shimmering staircase. And it was almost like, oh, it's my birthday. All these masters have come to celebrate me and my soul and my growth. And it was like overwhelming. My heart was just overflowing. And they came down and they lined up one single line in front of me, and the line divided. And then there were two lines. They looked identical. And they said, who do you follow? The masters of the light or the masters of the dark? Of course I said the light, but I never personally had an experience. Holy geez Louise, they're identical. How can you know who's of the light and who's of the dark? It takes a tremendous amount of soul discernment. And until we clear all this clutter and this unconscious programming that we are carrying around from grandfather and, grandmother and on, and generations and generations and generations. So that's what's really happening in part of the spiritual awakening. I mean, the politics of it all, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, the way I'm seeing it. I don't want to put that on anybody, but I see us as, taking off the blinders from politics to our health. We've seen, criminal actions with all that, and control and domination and false information. So yeah, talk about our worth. Is it just money in the bank? Or are we stepping into a whole new awareness that there's so much more to me that determines my value. Do they want to shut people up like me?
I think I remember somebody was going to go to the World Economic Forum who's doing a lot of good stuff, like I would say, I mean, their own internal agenda, we do. And I was kind of going, you do realize where you're going. And her message was, we're bringing light into the darkness because that's the only way to make change.
Well, I'm going to sit back and send the light over there, okay? Because it's not always by immediate action, in my opinion. When you know how to use the quantum field and force to focus on energy, you can direct that energy into the minds of those people and influence them. I wouldn't step in the snake pit myself. You don't have to go there to feel it.
No, I wouldn't go there either. I was actually asked. I was asked would I be interested, and I don't want to go near it. I don't want to touch that kind of thing. Just like I don't want to go near a hospital now either. Just it's not the place to be.
Well, that's right, or a graveyard. And I work with a lot of people removing entities. I have had alien and ET experiences myself. I communicate with the Arcturians and I communicate with ascended masters. There's lots for us to touch on here and explore. However, we got to be careful what we're opening, and the bottom line message, all that stuff is so seductive. It's so juicy and yummy, and we all want to know because that's where we came from, the stars. But we're here to have a human experience. I come back to the basics of this formula. We're here as a soul, having a spirit, having a human experience. We've got to close the portals. We've got to know more of who we are and accelerate and amplify that power of intention to create. Because then it's our frequency and our vibration that literally sends a ripple effect when we can be singular in our mind, in our focus, our laser focus. Because we are these, fallen Atlanteans and Lemurians that are here to remember. That's why you hang on to your 100-year-old books. The ancient memory is stored and you're trying to get more of it because it's so yummy. Right? And so it all makes sense. All the pieces come together, but it's too much. It's like drinking from the fire hose, and then we get fragmented. That brings us back to this point of, we're remembering, but we're fragmented. We've got to magnetize and compress it, condense it, zip it up like in a zip file, a nice condensed format to then reveal. And when I believe we can do that, when you do that and I do that, we're in your location and other locations, then it cannot help but flip the table in the temple, so to speak. We're not going to do it the old way that Jesus did it. Okay? That's not doing it. At least for me. I am not, I hate confrontation. So whatever you protest, you create more of. Because you're focusing on that.
Yeah, definitely.
So rather than the bad things they're doing, what would we replace it with? And I don't have all those answers. I certainly don't know. But all I know is holding the light, holding the truth.
Yeah. And I think you don't fare when you do that. When you're coming from just, truth, honesty, and you don't, no matter what they're doing, it doesn't scare you. It doesn't get you down either. I mean, we're aware of all the stuff going on. I mean, I see a lot of people there, whether they're podcasters or whatever, they're researching all this stuff. It gets to them. And,
yes, it does. And they will get sick.
Yeah.
They will have a mental breakdown. I know channelers and other even light workers who don't know how to clear their energy field, and they have a short-term, career, or they get completely so obese because they're shoving chocolate in their mouth trying to ground themselves. because with all this overload, I know myself, it happens to me. Hey, I just need a drink, or I need this, or it's like because of the energy. No, you need to sit down and you need to use Amirah's Stress Buster. Okay, that's the synopsis. People can go to my website and download it and start clearing the air energy. It's an energy shower immediately. So it's my gift to you. It's like, you don't have to sign up for my program. So it would be great if I work with you, but for anybody out there that needs to start immediately, it's using universal life force energy and running it through your body in a different way. I teach people how to be grounded from the base of their spine, from the central nervous system. And so it's a slightly different approach, but it works fast and it's consistent. It's like my little science experiment for 22 years. Whether it's a successful billionaire dentist in Dubai that uses it every day just so he can function and focus and get more done, right? That's his go-to tool. To anybody, everybody and anybody. It's simple. That's what I like. Yeah. But yeah, we get distracted, don't we? We have to refine our energy field, even if you are somebody that is sort of the sword bearer, going into the fight. If that's your mission, then you still need to be grounded. You still need to have integrity and be able to focus. Because if, I don't know about you, but I don't really like being around people that are all scattered and nervous and crazy, and it's debilitating. It's a drain. So why would we do that? Why would we go be around those kind of people?
And I mean, you have to do. Some people don't do that. I make a conscious decision of, plenty of times. There's sometimes you might know somebody for a few years and it's going, no, this is we're no longer aligned. Like, you just move on and don't beat yourself up from it.
Well,
There's
and
new bridges up here.
You bring up another really good point, because in this process of awakening, I don't know how many cycles I've gone through of letting people go in my life. And I remember talking to one of my teachers and saying, is there something wrong with my personality? Is there, I really feel like I'm really a degenerate. Something's wrong. No, you're not. You're perfectly on track. So that is normal. And the more people that we say goodbye to in our life, it opens up space for people that you can click in 2 minutes and really be longtime friends. Like I feel a connection with you.
Yeah. I mean,
Like you've known
first
each other.
conversation. Exactly.
Yeah, our very first conversation.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing, actually, that can happen. And even like sometimes before, you would never think that you could even do that over a Zoom call. But I think you can even feel the vibrations. You just kind of know, you just get it. You just kind of feel it. That's the way there's other times as well. It's you get the opposite. There's sometimes you would call and you kind of you just feel it. I don't know if you call it intuition or what, or it's in your gut.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Your intuition is loud and strong, and which is great. A lot of people call it their gut feeling, but it's just a natural part of us, right? And that's what I help people understand and refine it. Because if we keep turning it down, we like that granite statue didn't smile at me, or, oh, you should make a left turn here and you take a right and you end up in traffic for 2 hours, something like that. Little things in life, every step of the way through the day, we are being guided. Yeah.
Exactly. And even with parking, I mean, I always get parked. It's just like I'm going to be going here. I want parking, and it's there.
But you see how clear you are, and you're focused on that. That's an absolute truth for you. It's an absolute. Other people go, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. We'll go around the block. We'll take our time.
Or they say it's their negative talk. I will never find parking today because it's so busy. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because we've had a few kind of live shows as well, and I hear a lot of people talking about all these different dimensions. The bad entities are in the 4th dimension. We're going to the 5th dimension. I don't really understand it much. Is that something that you go down? Is this something you understand yourself?
Well, here's the, My Canadian's going to come out here. I think a lot of it is bullshit and gobbledygook, woo-woo, esoteric bullshit. Yes, we are interdimensional beings. Yes, there's multidimensionals. When I'm talking to the Arcturians, I'm not sitting there going, well, what dimension are you in? Or where are you coming from? And I don't know, maybe I'm missing something here, but the communication usually comes through. I sense it. I can vet out after all these years whether it's a genuine being, because I've been tricked, and a lot of them are tricksters. And here's my problem with, I call them, I don't know, fake teachers on the path, charlatans, wannabes. There's a lot of people out there that realize perhaps they can make some money doing something like this, or notoriety or fame, or they're looking to just control people through fear or programming. It makes them feel good. So there's a component of ego, and I've seen a lot of this, okay? So I'm not going to speak about anybody individually, but it's, I think there's way too many people that are completely ungrounded, and spiritual, or any of the teachers that aren't grounded and are just channeling nonstop. You got to ask yourself, who the hell are they channeling? How and why should I listen to you or trust you? To me, it's a journey, and all the people I work with, we're looking to be authentic and to have a human experience, because that's why our spirit's here, not to be out of our body. So I'm getting tongue-tied here. We are here to learn how to manage our energy. But if we're channeling and we're out there in these other dimensions, we're not fulfilling the purpose here. Even if you're a walk-in or you're an ET or whatever the hell you are, you're here to learn how to be human. And how do we do that? To be present, to be authentic, to know thyself. And we have no business. I mean, they come to me and stuff, but I'm not out there looking for it because I don't need to. They show up. My job, I need to focus on what is my job here. What is the purpose? Why have I created a human body? Which is an incredible privilege in the universe. And that's why so many people get possessed or start channeling entities. You're channeling your mother still, or your grandmother. You know, those vibrations we're still channeling with us until we clear them. If my mother knew what I was doing right. Well, for 22 years, she's denounced what I do. You know, they can't even say the words. What is that again? Oh, I just have voices in my head. Yeah, so we got off track. I apologize, but
even with what I've noticed is, because I'm meeting more, I think you kind of know when you meet somebody that's kind of, I suppose, let's call them, whether it's awakened, totally present or something, but there's more and more in the last few years, and I don't think they ever kind of go back. You know, they don't kind of revert back into, step out of that.
In other words, they hold the awakened state because they own it. It's authentic. You know, I have my moments, like when I moved from California to Texas. Hell, there were bumpy times where I had to, you know, really create space for myself to regroup. You know, it was like regrouping. It's like, whoa, you know, I'm really off kilter and I'm feeling it and I'm not flowing today. You know, that I just need to stop because I can recognize it. I have the tools so I can self and course correct. But when you're not aware of that, and see, that's an aspect I think of being human. We're here to have emotions. We're here to have loss. We're here to have the ebbs and the flows. That's why we're emotional beings.
I'm with the flow, because I know, I even kind of know it. I know when it kind of, I come out of it, and then you know, get you know where you've been, so you want to get back. What kind of what do you advise people to do when they know the kind of, like, when you moved, how do you actually get back into flow?
I listen to my stress buster. I clear my energy. I clear my fears. I clear my uncertainty or the doubt or the hesitancy or other people's. I hardly told anybody when I was moving because I didn't want anybody's doubt thrown at me. I didn't want to steer and navigate, because you've got your own with your own navigation system. And I know I'm pretty darn clear. But the point of it is I didn't want that energy to affect me. So I selfishly kept it to myself until I got here, and then more and more people, those who need to know, will find out. But that's just a practical example. And yeah, I use my tools every single day. I don't know how people are surviving the last 2 years without something like this, because it centers you immediately. You get grounded. You start tapping into the universal life force. You use the earth energy to remind you and connect you to the earth. Right? We're so busy in our modern life and days that we are all ungrounded. Everywhere we go, we're distracted. Where you think your mind goes there. And so if you're thinking about that past life, you've just left here and went there. If you're thinking about Tonga and the tidal waves and the volcanic eruption, you just went there. Right? If you're thinking about the World Economic Forum, boom, you just dropped into that. And that's slimy.
I came out very fast. Just a beep.
Yeah. So, noticing just that is a level of awareness and going, whew, okay, well, why am I so inclined to and curious about this whole concept about changes in currency and this and that? What is it about me? What am I trying to learn? Am I trying to truly let go of, a container or the way things have been done for thousands of years? What part of my soul is stepping into, where am I going with it? So each of us has our own individual process.
And with this,
So you're into crypto, right? You're really into the.
Oh, I mean, I've set up the crypto podcast and I've done a course on it, and I've dealt, and the reason being is I saw that there was lots of people fraudulently catching people. So it was kind of to kind of show the kind of corruption that goes on, to stop people losing their life saving, because there's a lot of people that think, oh, he had, it's something worth $10 and now it's worth 100,000. And if I had bought X, I'd be worth Y. And that's not the reality. And it's just trying to show how, they manipulate everything, and like the rug pull is basically where it just disappears overnight, and people aren't aware of it. So I'm just kind of telling people about that, and just do it and not to overexpose yourself. So
well, and that's really good common sense, isn't it? But also, if you had your intuition cranked up and you were tuning into these things, like I played with it for a while because I want to learn about it. I want to know what was going on. I sucked at it, and I have an Aquarius moon, so I'm impatient. I don't like those things that, of course, I might have made some good choices, but I didn't ride the cycle, for instance, right? So yeah, we learn all those things about ourselves. And I think, it's wonderful to listen to that intuition. And the part that you mentioned about the crooks and people manipulating and, really abusing people. I've witnessed that over the years in my field and this spiritual realm, and it sickens me. But I'm learning how to not judge or dissolve the judgment, instead be an example, right? And standing in that light and holding a different option. And those people that need to get ripped off will get ripped off. That's their lesson. So
people that you help and they get you, and they just know that it's genuine, they'll be your biggest spokespeople, and they'll bring in plenty of the right people to you. You won't even have to be doing the marketing to attract people, because they just appear. That's what I find in life.
Did you find yourself going through a period of like hibernation, or trying to hide or lay low or not be seen, so to speak?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that's part of it too, is we want to not be incognito, but protect ourselves. We're trying to protect our energetic field. And I think there's so much more, call it 5G, call it the boogeyman, call it, the men in black. I think there's an incredible, this is what they want me to tell you. It's mind control that's happening at a very high level. And that's where I feel like the dark forces are way beyond the Earth planet. That it's a battle of light and dark. Who do you follow? Masters of the light or masters of the dark?
I think you have to follow your own soul, and once you kind of find yourself, because too many people, they're giving their power away to somebody else, hoping they'll be their savior, and you have to realize it's yourself. We are all, I believe we're all connected, and
absolutely right.
Once you do that, then the fear drops. And I've had hundreds of court cases. I've had loads of, I know I'm fighting the fight, but I don't, I could face a judge, I could face a prosecutor, a policeman. I don't fear them. And you can see it in their eyes. They know it. And they don't treat me bad because how they treat other people. They use their power and people bow to it. But once you don't accept that, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Yeah, you might have the paper trail that you can actually do what you want with me because that's how your system is set up. But if you don't actually accept it, and deep down, and you're looking straight at, I look straight at the judges, I look at the prosecutors, they know they can't look at me in the eye. They cannot look at me in the eye.
Because you're looking in deeper.
Yeah.
You're looking in their soul.
Yeah. It's like a big hollow.
Big void. You're to a black hole.
I'll have to bring a flashlight with me the next time and just.
Ooh, anybody there? Oh, well, you're definitely a guy that I'll have to keep in my hip pocket then. Yeah, I'm somebody that doesn't like confrontation, and that's, I'm just tender soul. So
yeah, I'm not either, but I just don't accept. I don't accept anyone abusing anyone else. I'll stick up for somebody. If I see somebody being abused, I won't just kind of turn my head and walk away. I'll back them up, and
that's totally standing in your power. I love it. We need more people like you to wake up and say, this is right.
Oh, the awakening, there's people waking up and there's people reaching out, there's a lot. It's getting better. I know people are they're hearing the doom and gloom, but the reality is there's loads that are doing good in this world. And
yes,
if you look for it, you will find it.
And maybe they're like me, where I've sort of been I haven't been promoting myself. I haven't stuck out and been visible, intentionally or self-protective. But it's time now. It's time for us to resurrect, show who we are, step out for others that need a hand up as we climb the ladder in this ascension process, is raising the vibration on the planet and the universe. But we got to start here. We can't go out there in those other dimensions and make it happen and spend all night long, battling forces and reptilians and shit. I'm sorry. It's just, I get tired just talking about it. It's like, I know people that are doing that. And I just think it's an absolute waste of, life force energy here in the human body. So that's my opinion. It's the way I operate. So.
Operate is just be present with everything I do, live in the moment, just being out in the garden, reading in the sun, grounding. And just, when I'm with my son, I'm with him. I'm not on a phone. I'm doing things, just different things you're doing. And I know you said, because I actually did try to step away from reading, but I just get so much joy from it. And I've even looked at the speed reading. I was like, no, because I want to be present in my own head to go through the thought process that I have as I'm reading this kind of paragraph or chapter. And
I'm wondering if you're going into the chapter versus, you say you're in your head, but you're showing me you jump into the book. You literally, your spirit goes into it. Yeah. So yes, it's an escape, but that's your escape of, that's your thing. Some people go to the pub, some people, sit there eating bonbons, and they lose themselves watching reality shows. Oh my God. It's the furthest thing from reality. Anyway, yeah. But that's what you're showing me, what your spirit's doing, but that's your escape and that's your healing. And you allow yourself, you indulge it. So you know what you're doing.
And what's funny is sometimes I might read a book and somebody asks me to tell them something about it. I can't kind of regurgitate it and give them a synopsis of what I've just read, but it's in there and it comes out when it needs to. So like this, I've even done speech, it just flows out of me. And you know, the information that I'm reading, I make sure that I'm very selective in the books that I'm getting, but I think, you know, the message comes out to the right person at the right time.
There you go. So, but yeah, you're going into the book.
Yeah,
But
I become one with the book.
You do. But what if you could do that without reading the book? I mean, that's your device. Like
Listen, I want to do that. I've got so many. I would love to just go boom in. Yeah,
you can. That's the Akashic records. They're right here, right now to access. But that's just you trusting it and learning in a safe way, because you can do this. It's not safe, you know. So I've seen people be damaged psychologically when they open up their portals too much, or you don't know what you're playing with. You know, I never really understood the danger of Ouija boards until I started bringing in some dark entities and not knowing what to do with it. You know, when you're 12, you're just dabbling. And I was talking to a young man the other day, and I could see all this chaotic energy around him. It looked like static electricity. And I said, do you drink a lot of caffeine or sugar or something like that? And he goes, yeah, I do that. And then we got in, I saw aliens. I said, it looks like you've opened up this portal. And so he did have the alien energy coming through to him, but to ground himself and to try to release that energy, he would drink more coffee, which made it even worse. But that was the frequency. He was literally opening up portals and he didn't know he was doing it. Yeah, he's curious. Yeah, he's calling on them. Yeah, I've invited them. Well, listen, you don't know what you're opening up. It's not all good. And it doesn't help you get anywhere on your path, because you now become a leaky sieve and you're losing your frequency. So how do you fix that, right? We could go on and on and on, Roy.
And I think some people might think, well, you know, they think, woo, when they hear something like that. But if you just look at, say, somebody that's, when they drink, they might drink a beer on their grand and then they have a spirit, or vice versa. And you see a demon in them. And it's like,
yeah, you literally can see people's face change when they've had a drink, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think they call them spirits?
Exactly.
The spirits literally come in. And, you know, I can go to a bar or a pub now, but I am very selective and I turn down my chakras. So I don't take on those energies. So there's ways, like we have these little energy dials we can turn down so that we're not taking on all of this other energy and being aware. So it's less invasive once you get to a certain point, but it takes practice.
So I'm sure people will learn a lot from your book. So what's the best way that they can get in contact with you?
People can reach me at my website, www.Amirah Hall, and that's AMIRAH and HALL.com. So I think my books are there. They can also get them on Amazon. And please go download the Stress Buster and get your energy shower going. It's free on my website.
Yeah, I'll make sure I put all the links on the podcast description so that they'll be able to find it both on the audio and on the YouTube. So listen, Amirah, it's been lovely speaking with you.
I've truly enjoyed it. Thank you again.
So that's all for the Meditation Podcast. You can find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. You'll find all the links in the podcast description. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating. It all helps. Until next week, take care.